Hockey Town, it's a place where dreams are found. We fought so many battles here, now we're the ones that they will fear. The cup resides within our town, we won't stop no letting down. The cup is ours, we're all to drink. It's our time, let's rock this ring.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. You're here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Carlo, Zach, and Derek. Boys, football Sunday. Let's get it going. We got a lot to go over today, or at least down below. As you can see, the Atlantic and Metro Division predictions for us on how we feel that the Atlantic and the Metro Division is going to shape out, and see if the Red Wings have an opportunity to make the playoffs this season. So before we actually jump into that, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, if you're new, but also if you are returning, it is free to do that, as well as to hit that thumbs up button. That's also free. Doesn't cost you anything. Just wanted to reiterate that. Also, if you do it on Spotify, give us a follow and then rate us 5 stars. You can also do that on Apple Podcasts. Doing all that is free as well. We definitely appreciate it. And boys, what's going on? How's your Sunday so far?
Zach, that was a great intro. You nailed it.
Boys.
You nailed it. This is a great Sunday. This is a great Sunday. Football is back. We're doing a very early prediction of the Eastern Conference, which just gets me going. And it's beautiful weather. We got some football weather, although it's going to be super hot again next week. But this temperature that's kicking in right now is just perfect for football. Windows open, breeze coming in. Let's go. Everything's great. Derek, how you feeling, buddy?
I mean, bud, I haven't turned on the air in the last 3 days. It's been amazing. Every window is open except for the one down here because I'm literally at the ground level and I don't want to have 1,000 dogs barking in my window. But, boys, one of us is going to be probably right about who we're picking for this Atlantic and Metro division, I feel like. So, high hopes, maybe? I'm actually, after we're seeing some of our lineups, I'm kind of hoping Zach's more right than most of us. But then again, you never know.
Teaser.
Before we jump into those predictions, we're going to go ahead and jump into the Red Wings news and then around the league news. And then once we get done with everything, we will be announcing the winner for this beautiful Henrik Zetterberg bobblehead that is sealed. So thank you to everyone who reached us to 1,000 followers on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. Would prefer you call it Twitter. We're going to get that name changed. Elon, please. Thank you to everyone for the follow and then for subscribing. You got us over 550. Huge.
We love that. We absolutely love that. Thank you guys, because that's been huge. And to see that growth, especially during this offseason, has been awesome, and it really inspires us to keep it going. So please continue to like and subscribe, because that's what's given us the horsepower to keep this thing alive, baby.
100%. Yeah. And for anyone who does not know, not only do we do this for ourselves because we like to interact with each other talking about Detroit Red Wings hockey, we love hearing from you, the fans, the viewers, the watchers. Go ahead and leave a comment. You can obviously contact us through all of our social medias, which are right above here. Not Lucas, Raymond, and Moritz Sider, but yes, these two are very beautiful. But yeah, go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're also on Threads. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it, boys. We'll start with the Red Wings news. And the Red Wings are following suit with the league mandate. Sort of. I think there was a missed opportunity here, but they did unveil the new league mandated center ice logo. And where I come in is saying Wings should have added all the 11 cups that they won going around the logo. Because you saw
the year?
Yeah, and then put the year. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that too. I think that would be a major flex that you could do around the league for sure, right? And so you looked at, the Florida Panthers. There were a couple other teams that had already done theirs, and they fully filled in their center ice with a color, right? And we kept on talking and asking ourselves, what could the Red Wings do? So I believe that was a missed opportunity, but what are your thoughts overall, I guess, for the logo? Do you guys wish that they put the Hockey Town in there too?
Ooh, that was my big thing. I was really hoping for a Hockey Town. I was also hoping they bring back the octopus right in the middle with Hockey Town underneath. I know that was probably a reach right there, but that was something that I'm like, okay, get some nostalgia going, bring the old Hockey Town back. Or, you could have just used, I got to point that way. seems opposite for everyone. That logo up there, we would have been upset. We would have happily just handed it over to the Red Wings. But like Zach, I feel like there's some missed opportunities. But of course, technically, if you want to think about it, it is completely filled in for the Red Wings because white is technically a color. But it's just not as fun as all the other ones we're seeing out there right now.
And Detroit Red Wing Mark Stahl retires after 1,136 NHL games.
Claps for Stalzy, man. That's huge. Yeah. I like Stalzy. I like them. I like them a lot.
Solid defensive defenseman. That's all you can say really there.
Yeah.
Yeah, within that time frame of all those games he played, he put up 53 goals, 181 assists for 234 points. And I'm very shocked by this. His plus minus was a plus 52. 6'4", 280-pound boy, born in 1987 from Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada. And it was a 12th overall pick in the first round of the 2005 draft by the New York Rangers. Mark Stahl was good for his time that he was here for the Red Wings, a good filler spot, right? I mean, you had some young players coming up. He definitely played a veteran role on this team. He wore the A for us too. So yeah, I have no regrets for having Mark Stahl on this team. And I wish him a happy retirement, honestly. So once again, claps out to Mark Stahl. Thank you for everything you've done.
Congrats, man. Great career. Fuck, 1136 games played. That's massive. Good for him.
Yep. So congrats on that. In other news, the Red Wings are offering a professional tryout to Austin Watson. Thoughts on that real quick, boys?
Yeah, it's more so training camp is what I'm thinking. Nice little filler role to, bolster up the guys that are coming up. Could it be something good? Nah, I mean, not the worst player in the world. I'm feeling more AHL level, though, but you never know at camp.
Yeah, I mean, someone like Austin Watson, he only got to play in 33 games last season, 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. He was a +2. Career-wise, he in 515 games, 60 goals, 58 assists, 118 points, -3. He was born in 92 in Ann Arbor, Michigan, shoots right, selected 18th overall from the Nashville Predators in the first round in the 2010 draft. Yeah, Derek, I think that this is someone who could be, I mean, we talked about it on the episode with the Hockeytown West boys, where on the forward end, they really don't have too much depth. Max Pacioretty was a name that's thrown out there for the Detroit Red Wings, battling against the Toronto Maple Leafs for that player. Yeah, I think that this would be a good 13th forward for the Detroit Red Wings, someone to just kind of have a filler spot who's in between, right? But if he goes down to GRG, that's not exactly the worst. I'm sure Austin Watson can play a little bit on the PK, no more than the fourth line kind of guy. That's pretty decent plus minus in his career, honestly. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually did make the team, but obviously I think it comes down to injuries. So if there's no injuries, does he make the team?
No, probably not. I don't really see a fit for him right now, especially with what I'm hoping a few more moves might be coming along here shortly. I really don't know. We could just be seeing the lineup as it is, but if certain things happen, I feel like there's just no room, especially for the GRG guys that we're trying to get pushed up to. So,
talks with Seider and Raymond are escalating, with reports that Seider will get a bigger payout than Raymond. Derek put this in there. Shocking? No, not really. I agree with you, Derek. If you are shocked by that, I'd be curious to know why you think Raymond would get a bigger payout than Mo Seider. Right? Did I say that right? Lucas Raymond, then Mo Seider? Yeah, I'm already drawing a blank on this. Wow, it's Sunday scaries today already for me, boys and girls. David Pagnotta, I believe he's the one who announced that, right? And a couple of weeks ago, he was saying how, he didn't even touch on Seider, said that they were pretty far apart with Raymond, and they were still working on Bergie. I just don't believe anything that anyone says. I really cannot with the Detroit Red Wings, because every time someone says something, the complete opposite happens.
Yep.
And so I'm going to say this again, and I think we're all in agreement on this. And I think multiple other people, podcasters, random folk just like you and I, have said this. The deals are probably done, and we're just waiting for them to get the training camp to put pen to paper. I guarantee you, Steve Yzerman alone told them this offseason, go home, go do whatever you want, go train, go have fun. That's what it looks like that they're all doing, all three of those players. And then when you guys are ready to come back for training camp, we're going to put ink to paper. That's my thought on it. What do you guys think?
I think you're like, I wouldn't be surprised if Yzerman has his media presser and goes, oh yeah, the deals were done by mid-August. Next question, please. Like, that would not surprise me, because it's just at that point, it's just obviously a troll. But I just think it's the offseason, guys. I mean, people need things to talk about, just as much as we do, right? And it's all speculation until we get to the day that it's done. But I have zero concerns that it's not going to get done. Like, it's going to happen. In my mind, it already did happen, and let's just get to the season. That's kind of where I'm at with it at this point.
I mean, like you said, those two behind Zach right now, they're going to be on the Red Wings. So there's nothing really to worry about.
I am curious to know if there are fans out there that are actually worried if they are going to sign or not. You look at the Boston Bruins situation with Swayman. We were talking about that before we actually started recording. Nick, actually, from Hockeytown West podcast, we're just going to bring it up. Sorry, Nick, we're stealing your question. Do you feel like we're in a worse position than Boston is between signing Lucas Raymond, Mo Seider versus Boston trying to get Sway Dog signed? Derek, you go first in answering that question.
Oh God, no. I mean, with what's going over in Boston, I get it. Swayman's a great player, a great goalie, one of the top in the league. But again, like we talked about earlier, he has a great defensive core in front of him. He had a 1AB situation going on for the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Raymond over here, we already know he wants to be a Red Wing. We know he loves the team. We know the deal basically is going to get done. It's just the idea of the compensation that it's going to be for him and how long it's going to be. So I feel like there's nowhere in between, that, not even close relevance to what Swayman's happening. I feel like they're just filling out the fine details with Raymond right now and what he actually wants for the next either 6 to 8 years. Because obviously the Red Wings probably want 8. Raymond probably looking forward to 6. I feel like there's going to be that nice middle ground, and that's probably what they're going off of right now, because he's young. He wants to get another big payout at some point. And I'm pretty sure Barry, his agent, am I right there, Carlo? Barry?
Yeah, JP Barry. I don't know if he's the direct agent, but he's definitely part of that agency. I don't know if he's handling Lucas Raymond's specific deal and contract, but I know he's very, very involved in it one way or another. But yeah, sorry.
Either way, they all got to get their payout somehow. So
yep.
I feel like that's the only thing they're going off of right now. It's just a matter of time before it's done.
Carlo.
Yeah, I would rather be in Detroit's position. A, because of money. We have more money. And B, because I think the team has more leverage than Jeremy Swayman does. Jeremy Swayman's, like, you look at his numbers, and Zach, you fired off some good questions. Did he allow the team to go on a deep run in the playoffs? Has he played 60 games in the NHL? The deep run in the playoffs, did he help with it? I don't know. It's maybe. Did he play 60 games in the NHL? No. But has he played a good amount with great numbers? Yes, he has. I feel like he doesn't really have much more to prove. And with that said, he's got the leverage to command the money that he wants. Therefore, I would not want to be Boston in this situation, because I think they have $8 million in change left. They got us obviously sign Swayman and then potentially Tyler Johnson, who's on a PTO. I don't really know what's going on there. Mm-hmm. But with Lucas Raymond and Mo Seider, and this is not a shot at them, but I feel Lucas Raymond still has a little bit more to prove. He had a great year last year, and he really exploded. But I think we all would like to see that again. Seider, does he have a little bit more to prove? Yes, but not to the fault of his own, only because I feel like his deployment has been terrible for what he's just been over indexed, and his bandwidth has been completely maxed out. So what can Seider do when we are well rounded on the defensive core? That's really all I'm looking for Seider to prove to me. Whether that means anything or not, I don't know. But yeah, to answer your question, I would much rather be the Detroit Red Wings. The team's got a little bit more leverage in these negotiations. And then for Swayman, good luck, man. I hope you get your bag. I think it's deserved. And I guess we'll see you in the regular season, pal. Maybe.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely the Detroit Red Wings are in a better spot. I think they have a little bit more leverage compared to the Boston Bruins. I think Swayman has more of a leverage than the actual team does. My counter argument for Swayman to not get anything $8 million plus would be the fact that Boston's had a really good defense for quite some time now, right? And so how much is his stats inflated by the defense? And then you got David Pasternak, you got you did have Patrice Bergeron, not anymore, obviously. Brad Marchand, he's also getting older, right? Even some of their defensemen are getting older. They got somewhat of an older defense core. It's going to be interesting to see. And yeah, going back to what Carlos said, I said, has he played 60 plus games in a season? Does he need to? No, probably not. But that's probably what you're looking for in your number one goaltender. And then Derek made it clear that, I believe it was you, Derek. So sorry if you didn't say this, but yeah, they traded Ullmark to the Sens. To me, that Derek was right by saying this, that proved to not only the Boston Bruins organization, but to Jeremy Swayman. I don't know why I just hesitated saying his name. I had a brain fart there. Jeremy Swayman, it showed to him that they view him as a number one goaltender. I'm very shocked that they didn't get the contract done first, then traded Linus Ullmark, but that's on them, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be tough for them to figure out. And then looking at it from a Red Wings perspective, yeah, I would say that Mo Seider really doesn't have anything more to prove. I think Mo Seider, compared to Lucas Raymond, Mo Seider probably has a little more leverage because of the deployment he's received, the minutes that he does. He was the only player in the last, what was it? I think I said decade or maybe 2 decades that has had 200 plus hits and 200 block shots in a season, right? Mm-hmm. So he's got a lot of leverage on his end, I feel like. And there's not very many defensemen that are as sturdy as he is. He hasn't missed a single game yet, right? And so you're paying for that. For Lucas Raymond, it's what else can you do? There's still a very unfamiliar territory there. And I think this kid can really boom onto the scene now that you have a full season with Patrick Kane, and then adding someone like a Tarasenko. That opens up more for him. So what route does Lucas Raymond go and his agent? Everyone knows the cap's going to continue going up year after year now that the COVID standstill on the cap coming in is over. A lot of these players are trying to leverage what's the most I can get right now, with the understanding that every year the cap's going to go up $4 million, essentially, maybe like 3 to 4 mil, right? There could be one season where it goes up to 6. Who really knows? So these players are truly just trying to get the best they can right now as quickly as possible. So, but I'll stand my ground where I believe that Lucas Raymond's comparable is going to be the Seth Jarvis deal that we talked about last episode. So, all right, moving along, let's go ahead and jump into the around the league news. I'm really disappointed. I really wanted him to be a Detroit Red Wing. He would have looked really nice in that jersey. Leon Draisaitl signs a massive contract extension, 8 years, $14 million. What is Connor McDavid going to get?
Probably like 16.
The team
ownership.
He's the owner now of the Edmonton Oilers. Jeez.
Like, what else do you give him at that point? Like, when's his contract up? In 2 years?
It's after this year or in 2 years. Yeah, I
think it's 2 years.
So going back to the Leon Draisaitl deal, is this a good deal for the Edmonton Oilers? This is a good deal for Leon. Is it a good deal for Edmonton?
I mean, if you're hoping that your first line can win you everything, maybe. I mean, we saw what it did last year. That's a possibility. You don't want to get rid of literally the best line combination in the entire world. It's going to cost a lot of money to keep. I just hope it doesn't ruin them in the back end.
I really don't like when players of that magnitude sign these deals, and then, the question's like, oh, is this, then people start drilling down and start asking those questions where it's like, oh, is this worth it in the long run? Like, remove money, remove cap, remove, I guess, anything but the term of the deal. it's still Leon Draisaitl. Like, he is unreal. He is one of the top players on the planet. Yes, all day, yes. He's worth every dollar of that. I think it's going to play out nicely for him as well. I think Edmonton's got a lot to be excited about. Obviously, with Draisaitl committing, but just with the team that's around these guys right now too, they're gonna be great. And I think Draisaitl is gonna earn, if he hasn't already, every dollar of that deal. So I really like it for Edmonton. I like it for him. Good for him for getting paid. He deserves it. Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how everything else works out now with Connor, of course. I mean, he's obviously going to get mega bucks, but I guess we'll see what happens in 2 years. But yeah, all day. This is an all day no-brainer for me.
I like this deal. I think this is actually very cheap for someone like Leon Draisaitl. I think someone like Connor McDavid could request $20 million a year if you truly wanted to, and teams would pay him that. I think if Leon Draisaitl went to the open market, he could have gotten more. So I think this is a steal for the Edmonton Oilers. I just got done talking about how the cap's more than likely going to go up an extra 3 to 4 mil a season. So within year 3, if it goes up 4 mil every season, that's $12 million. Like for Leon Draisaitl making 14, it's absolutely nuts. Is it a big number? Oh yeah, for sure. Like in NHL standard, it's going to be really interesting to see what Connor McDavid gets, though. The best player in the world, bar none.
I think this is a good move for not only for Draisaitl, but for all the other generational talent that is coming up eventually. There 100% needs to be a very big, large degree of separation between the generational talent and then your middle 6, bottom 6 guys. Yeah. And that massive degree is going to be your 14 million plus deals. There has to be, man. Look at some of these baseball players. Look at some of these football players. Dak Prescott just signed a $240 million deal, $231 million guaranteed. He can get injured today, and he's got $231 million. He's great. He's a quarterback, and I know it's now you're kind of getting into a territory that's not apples to apples. I get it, but the point I'm trying to make is when you have guys that are just above the line and are good players that are far above your middle 6 guys, your bottom 6 guys, there needs to be a very big degree of separation in terms of contract and payouts. And I'm glad we're moving towards that. I think it makes sense. It's about time, NHL.
I agree with you. There definitely needs to be a separation, and COVID probably played a role in that. However, you look at some of the contracts that were signed before cap was going up, and yeah, a lot of these not super elite franchise players were getting $8 million, $9.5 million. Like Seth, I'm just gonna name a player, Seth Jones. I don't think he's worth $9.5 million. That was more than I think what Sidney Crosby was making. Seth Jones is not better than Sidney Crosby by any means. Obviously, they play different positions, but yeah, overall, this is a great deal for them. It sounds like we all agree on this, that the Oilers did a good job at locking down a phenom player, right? He would be the number 1 guy on any other team. He just so happens to be the number 2 guy behind the best player in the world, right?
Yeah, the 1-2 punch there is you're not going to see that often. Like that's rare.
Yeah. So be count your blessings. Be thankful that we actually have opportunities to see 2 of the best players in the world play together. It does suck for us because they're obviously in the West Coast.
That's good for us. Thank God they're in the West Coast. Get as far away from us as possible.
It's good, but it sucks because I would love to watch them a little bit more than what we obviously get to do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, moving along.
I can't wait for 2 years when we see the first $40+ million line out there. So
yeah, it's gonna be nuts. But moving along here, another retirement player, Alex Goligoski, retires with 1,078 games and a Stanley Cup under his name. So congrats to him on retirement.
Yep.
And then all of the PWHL teams and league accounts have changed their profile pictures to black and posted teasers for September 9th, which would be tomorrow. We are recording September 8th. It is currently 11:45 a.m. Will we see team names and identities revealed? Carlo?
So I was listening to I was actually listening to the Winged Wheel pod when they had Berkey on, and I think he was talking about, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I think they're doing something with logos and just kind of a little more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? A little more pizzazz around the teams. Go with pizzazz. So I think it's cool. I think I'm a big fan of the league. Honestly, I think it's really entertaining. It's cool to see what they're doing, and I think it's a good thing to get a little more pizzazz, back to that word, around each team. Kind of create the identity and really start to grow that brand, because this is what's happening now. Is you have a team which they had. Now they're starting to identify, okay, let's start creating a brand to this so they can sell more merch and this and that. Like, same idea with Utah. Like, I mean, their kits are sick, not to go off topic too much, but there's not really a brand identity behind them yet. I'm glad that the PWHL is starting to do that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come out with tomorrow. It's going to be sweet.
Derek?
Yeah, from what I saw, it looked like it was going to be the logo and new team names. And from what they started with on their team names, what everyone thought they were going to be, it seems like it's going to be very different. So I'm not upset, because from what I looked at the names here, I have it right here, what the names were looking to be. System filed by leagues: Boston Wicked, Minnesota Superior, Montreal Echo, New York Sound, and Ottawa Alert, Toronto Torch. So I'm not upset that they're trying to, maybe look into getting some different names. I mean, the Boston Wicked, I'm not that upset with. That's pretty good. But the other 5, not the greatest. So I'm hoping there's a nice little revamp there. So
They sound like, when you name those off, I don't know why the NW or WNBA came to mind. Those sound like WNBA team names.
Just because it's like one
just
syllable
one word
type thing.
Yeah, one syllable, right? Yeah. I'm not upset by those names if those do end up being the names, definitely is an interesting way to go about it. I guess I'm more interested to see what the logos are going to look like. I really don't care about the names too much until Detroit gets a team. But for now, I'm more interested in the logo. So hopefully those all turn out pretty well. But yeah, hopefully that's what they're ending up doing tomorrow. So stay on the lookout for those. And with that being said, boys, that's all we got for Around the League and Detroit Red Wings news. So why don't we go ahead and jump into our Atlantic and Metro division predictions. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into it, boys, with our predictions for the Atlantic and Metro divisions. Obviously, as you can see on the screen, I am going first, but if you are just listening, I'll go ahead and just break these down for everyone. If you boys do the same, please go ahead and do that for the listeners. Not everyone has the opportunity to watch this episode. So for my Atlantic prediction, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs being at the top spot, followed by the Tampa Bay Lightnings. The Detroit Red Wings will be third in the Atlantic. I will go in depth as to my reasons why I believe these teams are going to be in their spots. Following up with the Florida Panthers, the reigning Stanley Cup champs, the Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, Ottawa Senators, and then the Montreal Canadiens finishing last in the Atlantic division. Going into the Metro, I have the New York Rangers coming in first. I'm kind of indifferent about this one. The Metro was a little more difficult for me to choose from, but then I have the Carolina Hurricanes second, the Devils third, the Islanders fourth, Capitals fifth, Penguins sixth, Flyers seventh, and then the Columbus Blue Jackets finishing last. And I guess I'll just go into my spiel about the Atlantic division. I think that this might be Toronto's year, and I know that all Toronto fans say that year after year. In my mind, I do think that they have improved themselves a little bit in terms of players that they've added, maybe not by much, but this kind of goes with what I've seen other teams do. And I think Toronto is primed to finally take that number one spot in the Atlantic division. Tampa Bay, I have at number 2 because, look, I know they lost Steven Stamkos. They've made some interesting moves, let go of some players, brought some decent players in. They brought back Ryan McDonough in a trade. Andrei Vasilevsky was injured for a good portion of the start of the season last year. I believe that Andre Vasilevsky will have a bounce back year. I think now that Steven Stamkos is gone, that gives prime opportunity to Brayden Point to increase his production. He's already a good player, but I think he can make that next step. So that's my reason for them being there. I'm just going to skip over the Red Wings. I'll talk on them last. The Florida Panthers, a lot of people are probably going to give me flack for this. Go ahead and leave it in the comment section if you believe I'm wrong. But yes, they did just win the Stanley Cup, but they've lost a decent amount of players this offseason. I think with this team winning the Cup and then going into this season, I think it's going to be a couple things. I think players are going to be tired. I think there's going to be injuries. I just don't see them being a top team. I have them making the playoffs, but I just don't think they're going to be a top team in the regular season. And we've seen time and time again in previous seasons where it's not always the top team that makes it on a deep run, right? So year after year, we see Boston. We'll see Florida kind of doing the same thing where they get knocked out super early, even Tampa Bay. So then you got Boston at number 5. That's purely just because Swayman isn't signed yet. If I was going based on if Swayman was signed right now, they would be moved up a little bit, but that's particularly my main reason for them being where they're at. Marchand's getting older. Pasta's getting older. He's not really that old, but you guys understand what I'm saying. I still don't really believe in their center depth. That's just my take on it. The Buffalo Sabres, they're pretty much still in the same spot as they were. They really didn't do too much to get better. Their defense is good, but that's about it. The Sens, yeah, they got Linus Ullmark, but that org, I don't know. They got to figure it the fuck out, you know. And then the Habs are the Habs. Even adding Lane, I think that they're just going to end up in dead last. For the Red Wings being in third, and like I said, this might go against my hot take that I have for our upcoming episode, but yeah, the Detroit Red Wings in third, and it's maybe a little delusion, right? Me being a fan for the Detroit Red Wings and being a Detroit Red Wings podcast, but with the additions of Tarasenko, I think they're going to score more. I think Cam Talbot's going to be a decent goaltender. Our defense is the only thing that scares me, and it comes down to, is this team going to be riddled with injuries? If Dylan Larkin can play a full healthy season, I think the Red Wings have a really good opportunity to make that jump and be third. And it's going to be on luck. I think it's going to be on luck. I think they're going to overproduce game in and game out. Maybe not every game, but majority of them. And that's where I have them. I think Lucas Raymond can have a good season. I also think that Moritz Seider can have a better stabilized season as well. So obviously we got to wait for them both to be signed, but that's clearly going to happen. And I know that goes against what I just said for Boston and Swayman and everything, but yeah, that's my reasoning. And then for the Metro, yeah, I can make the argument that the Devils can be in that number 1 spot or maybe number 2. Carolina, I do see them regressing, but New York still takes that top spot right there. You look at the Islanders, Sorokin's going to carry them. Their defense and their forwards, just their defense all right, but their forwards still lack very much. The Capitals, they're very confusing to me. I don't know how that team's going to end up, right? They've made quite a few changes, right? And so for the Pittsburgh Penguins, they added Rucker McGroarty, but all their top players are getting older. They're going to regress even more. The Flyers are the Flyers, and Columbus Blue Jackets, we know about them. They moved on from Lane, and then obviously the situation that happened with Gaudreau, right? So I think the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to get the first overall pick in this upcoming draft, just for a multitude of reasons I won't get into. But based on who I have making the playoffs, obviously the top 3 in each division. And then I think it's going to be the Florida Panthers, and I think it's going to be, oh boy, between either Boston or New York. I'm just going to select Boston. So those are the teams that I'm selecting to make the playoffs. What do you guys think of this so far?
I mean, if
Hope
true,
you're right.
I like it. Can't argue the Red Wings being in third. It's a nice progression from where they were last year and the year before and the year before that. So the other people I don't care about. They're not my team.
All right. I like that.
Quick and easy. Derek's like moving on.
Yep. And then we're going to go ahead and touch on Carlos. So, Carlo, why don't you go ahead and just break down your reasoning for your selections?
So, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you're probably going to look at this and say, yeah, that's pretty safe. And I did take a safe route with these. You look at the Florida Panthers to start off the Atlantic. They're the Florida Panthers. They are, I mean, they're just such a well-rounded group. They can score, they can hit, they can block, like they can just play such a good game of hockey. I don't really have a reason to believe that they're going to fall off. Stanley Cup hangover, sure, you could factor these things in, but if their goaltending stays as solid as it's been, and they score their goals and they're rested and recovered, I don't know who's going to take them out. That's just my opinion. Boston, now, Zach, you brought up a good point. Like, I have Boston ranked here 100% based off of Swayman re-signing with them, of course, because obviously that would be a big hindrance if he wasn't there. But I think Boston has a good shot to be at number 2 again. It's the Boston Bruins. They always seem to find a way. If any team does, it's them. Their center depth, I not really sold on either, Zach. You brought that up, but their depth in general, I don't mind it. And their defense, I'm a big fan of their defense. Zadorov and McAvoy for D1, Lindholm and Brandon Carlo for D2. I'm not too familiar with their third pairing, but I think they have a really good defensive core that'll allow them to stay pretty dominant. Toronto, I have them ranked 3rd over Tampa Bay. This one was probably the toughest one for me for the Atlantic. I think Tampa's going to have some big time adjustments without their captain Steven Stamkos. I think that's a huge loss to the team, to the locker room, and for that reason, Toronto, I bumped them up. I think their locker room is going to be in a really good place this season. Giving Matthews the C, I think that's big, and I think that does more than you think. People try to undershoot that, where all A's and C's, they don't really matter. Yeah, I think they matter. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't even exist to the extent that they do. But I think the Toronto Maple Leafs, I don't know if it's their year, because I feel like you said earlier, Zach, every year seems to be their year. So I just don't believe anybody anymore. It's at that point. But nonetheless, they're still a high octane offense that can definitely get themselves up there. Not sold on their defense at all. Chris Tanev, RD1, I don't know about that. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, left D2, I don't know about that. Goaltending, yeah, I don't know about that. So, I mean, for me, Toronto and Tampa are kind of, they can be flipped. Detroit I have with the 5th pick. I'll speak on them last, kind of following your pathway. Buffalo, young team, they did not make crazy additions. They're still developing the core that they have. Young team. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting to watch them. If Tage Thompson can figure it out this year, avoid injury, I think they could give Detroit, Tampa, and Toronto a run for their money, to be quite honest with you. But a lot of things got to go right for them. Montreal, I do not have them finishing last, only because I am really excited about their young core, their prospects. I think the addition of Laine is going to be big. I think Caulfield's going to find another gear. Lane Hudson is a treat to watch. Again, young, similar to Buffalo, developing still, kind of getting their feet under them. But I do think that they're not going to finish last. I think they're going to be second last. Ottawa Senators, they're going to finish last. Do I need to say more?
I'll laugh, but yeah, kind of go in depth as to why, if you don't mind.
So with Ottawa, I just think there's just too many question marks around that team. They do have some brilliant moments, but they also have some really, really bad moments too. I look at their team. The thing I like the most about their team is that they have Nick Jensen. I'm a big Nick Jensen fan, and he's their RD2. That's my favorite part about their team. Goaltending, got to give credit where credit's due. Obviously, Linus Ullmark showed the league that he is, he's definitely in the top 5, arguably top 3 goaltender in the league, maybe. That's going to be tested this year 100%, playing in front of this Ottawa Senators team. We're going to find out a lot about Linus Ullmark. But there's just question marks. There's just a lot of question marks. David Perron's there. I love David Perron. You guys know that. Is he a second line winger? I don't think so. So I just don't think they have the depth. I think they have a lot of plug players on their team. And I guess it remains to be seen if these plug players can put up production. I think they're just going to be getting in the way. And I just don't think the Ottawa Senators are going to have a great season. This is strictly just a feeling. I have no idea if they're actually going to blow the doors off. Nobody really does. But yeah, it's a lot of question marks for me on that team. So that kind of rounds off the Atlantic for me. Moving into the Metro, again, I'll touch on the Wings last, but moving into the Metro and with the New York Rangers, this one, I honestly almost put the Devils in the top spot.
Yeah.
I'll explain why. But I think the New York Rangers are also similar to the Florida Panthers. They're like the Florida Panthers of the Metro. Mm-hmm. Very complete team, man. They're deep. Lafreniere seems to be kind of turning things on. He had a good end of the year, and if he can continue on that path, that's going to be a very, very tough team to play against every single night. The Empire State Building, if he's part of that team, it doesn't matter where he's in the lineup. It's just having a guy like that on the team to go and answer the call, answer the bell is big. They're all huge. The New York Rangers are a massive team. Their defense, I mean, Adam Fox, stud. Even Lindgren, another stud. Goaltending, it's just, you talk about Vasilevsky having a bounce back year. I think Shesterkin's going to have a massive year.
Yeah.
And for that reason, that's what kind of put the Rangers at 1 over the New Jersey Devils. I think it's just size, depth, bite, and goaltending. When I look at those categories, I got to give that to the Rangers. Looking at the Devils, I think the Devils were probably one of the most improved players or improved teams this year during the offseason. I think they made some good moves, especially in the goaltending side. Who did they get for goaltending? I just had it here.
Markstrom.
Yes, Markstrom. I think that is going to be big. I think that's going to be big. And then Jake Allen, I mean, he's a great 1B, if you want to call him that, a great 1B goaltender. So I think they have some really good tandems in net. So that's going to be huge. I still think I like the Rangers better for that. But defense, I mean, you know who they have. I mean, they got some really, really solid defensemen. Brett Pesce, Luke Hughes, Dougie Hamilton. I don't know who – I guess I know, but I can't really recall anything that comes to mind. Jonas. Wow, this is going to even challenge me. Sigenhaller. As that's slated on their defensive pairing, but don't know too much about him. I've seen a little bit, but I don't know too much about him. But anyways, moving into the forward group, not as deep as the Rangers. So this is again clear cut why I have them ranked at number 2, but I think they have a really high offense, high octane, high offense group. Their top 6, their middle 6 looks really good. If Eric Haula can stay healthy, I think he's a sleeper. And then they got Paul Cotter on the fourth line. I like Paul Cotter. So I don't know. I think that they're going to just be a very improved team. I think they're going to have a solid year this year, and I think they're going to leap the Carolina Hurricanes, which takes me to the Carolina Hurricanes. I mean, obviously the thing that we all probably know really, really well with them is they got Ghost Bear back. So, I mean, good for Shane. They have him slotted perfectly, I think, on the third pairing. But they also have a very kind of underrated team in terms of sleepers with some high octane, high offense power. I think their fourth line's old. I think their third line is questionable. Second line's decent. Their first line is really, really good. I don't think they're as deep as they would want to be. So I got them ranked 3rd. Pittsburgh Penguins. This is probably going to be like, how are you nuts? How do you have these guys at 4? Sidney Crosby contract year. That's where I went with this one. I think he is going to have a really good season, barring that he stays healthy. I think Malkin is going to have a really good season. And I think the one thing with both those players is they have 2 massive milestones coming up that are 100% going to be reached probably before December. Crosby, I think it's 1,600 points. And Malkin, I think it's something with goals. 500 goals or something like that. I don't know. I gotta look at it again. But both are going to happen, but before December, and in my opinion, because they're like inches away. I think that's going to get those guys fueled up. I think that's going to give them a lot of horsepower. for the year. And I think they're going to be a good team. I love the addition of Rutger McGroarty. I think that's going to be huge. Playing with Bunting and Malkin, I think, is going to be dynamite for his development, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. He might be a good sleeper pick in fantasy. Just a little fantasy news for you guys. I just got the fantasy buy, so I had to sneak that in there. Defense is where it gets a little questionable. They're on the older side, but you can't disrespect the brand power behind the names of Erik Karlsson and Chris Letang. You got to respect that. So, yeah, that's kind of my spiel on Pittsburgh. I think they're going to be in the mix. The New York Islanders. So when I was looking at the ranking and I was looking at this team, it's just it's an extra large vanilla milkshake for me. It's just plain Jane. It's there's nothing really doing it for me. Goaltending's okay. I think actually it's pretty good, but it's just vanilla. It's just I don't really have an explanation for them other than that. Sorry, Islanders, but I guess prove me wrong. I don't know. Philly, they got bad. Like they got worse this year, and I think they're obviously rebuilding as well. But they're in a weird position where I think they have some guys that are starting to be plug players. You know what I mean? Like some guys that are kind of just filling some spots, biding them some time. But they have the opportunity to be pretty exciting and explosive. I just don't think it's going to be sustainable, nor is it going to be consistent. Defense, Jamie Drysdale, sweet. And then their goaltending. Yeah. None of these goalies have really done anything. So until they do, Philly's going to be third last. Columbus, this one, for obvious reasons. I mean, this one's tough to. It's just a tough break for them. But I think they're going to have some. Whether you believe in this stuff or not, I think they're going to have some spirit and some energy behind them this year. And I don't think they're going to finish last. For you call it whatever you want, for supernatural reasons or whatever the case may be, they are absolutely not going to finish last. They could very well finish third last and leap Philly just off that spirit drive and playing their guts out for Johnny Gaudreau.
Very possible. We've seen it happen before.
Oh, yeah, it's happened, dude. It's happened so many times in the world of sports. It's not just related to hockey, but in anything, man. Like you just find that eighth gear when stuff like this happens. And it's sad that, such a tragic thing has to happen for you to realize or really find that eighth gear. But obviously that's just the way it goes, I suppose. But I think that they are going to play their guts out. And it's hard to predict where they're going to go, but I definitely don't see them finishing last. Who I do see finishing dead last is the Washington Capitals. I don't know, like the Washington Capitals, they didn't really do much to get better. They really didn't do much to get better at all. Andrew Mangiapane, as a fellow Italian, I just want everybody to know his last name literally translates to eat bread. So I love this guy.
Love it.
I love this guy. I don't think he's a second liner. I mean, I don't know. I middle six, I think is generous. But yeah, I don't know. Tom Wilson, top line with Dylan Strome and Alex Ovechkin, just dated right at the get-go. Their defense, I mean, if their defense can stay healthy, and I'm talking to you, Jacob Chychrun, then good luck. But yeah, I don't think the Washington Capitals are going to be a threat to anybody. And last but not least, karma's a bitch, Washington. And you kind of screwed us. So you're finishing dead last, pal. And that's my spiel on the Atlantic and the Metro. I think the Atlantic is very safe. I think the Metro is where it gets kind of into that wild card territory. There's a few teams there that I really don't know how it's going to go with. I don't know where they're going to go, but the Atlantic's safe, I think. What do you guys think?
I'm pretty similar in where I'm thinking at, so I can't really argue it too much. It's always those back three. The top three and the back three could be interchanged pretty much at any time right now, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Absolutely.
I'm a little shocked that you have the Capitals dead last. I think I mean, you still got Ovi there. They have a decent team. I don't.
Couple
it's not
add-ins
Columbus-
there.
I'll
If
be
it's not
honest with
Col-
you, it was more of a bitter take because of I'm still
Yeah.
not over what happened last season, but I don't know, man. Their team it's similar to the Islanders. It's just very vanilla. Outside of Ovechkin, it's vanilla, and Ovechkin's getting up there, man. Like,
Overall, I like this though. I see no issues with this. Kind of going against for the hate of the Ottawa Senators, being a Red Wings fan. I don't think they'll be last. I think that's the Habs spot, but obviously we've seen things happen, right? Whether if that's injuries or comes down to coaching or just, I mean, Carlo, you kind of said it. They have Tim Stützle, they have Brady Tkachuk. I guess you can maybe bring up Josh Norris too, Jake Sanderson. So they have some decent names, and then they added a Linus Ullmark. But I don't see a huge jump with them for whatever reason. And granted, I was very wishful thinking for the Red Wings being third. There's a good chance that the Sens could be there too. It's just very difficult. Obviously, we're very early on this. Injuries come and go, but we'll just have to wait and see. But overall, I like this. I think it's fine.
yeah, the Sens. You bring up a good point, man. The Sens. I mean, they have some good names. Like I think you mentioned five names, but last time I checked, you need more than 5 guys to win in the NHL.
Yeah,
and the surrounding cast, the supporting cast around those 5 guys are just they don't do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like 5 guys can only take you so far. I mean, it's a long season, 82 games. You just keep thinking about 5 guys continually showing up for 82 games. They're going to be either get exhausted or they're going to get injured. And then it's on to the supporting cast. If one guy, think about this, if one guy goes down on the top line, David Perron's going to be on the top line. Is that sustainable? I'm not shooting at David Perron. Yeah. I love David Perron. But David Perron is not a top line guy.
Yeah, it's not the worst choice, but it's definitely by far not the greatest choice to have. He's 37, I believe, maybe 36 or maybe 38. I can't remember, Daddy P. I apologize. But yeah, that's probably not ideal for them. And then they have Claude Giroux still, I believe, too. So I just don't pay attention to their roster, believe it or not. So yeah, just time will tell. So
this is a very early projection, a way too early projection. Keep in mind. We'll do another one just to see where we're at.
Did you touch on the Wings already?
No. So the Wings at 5. And again, can I see them jumping up into 4? Yeah. But I took the safe route. A lot has to go right for Detroit. They lost a lot of point production in this offseason. We all know that. Now, you factor that against Patty Kane with a full offseason. You factor the points coming out to Eric Gustafsson filling in Shane Gosper's position nicely. Tarasenko, where he slots into the lineup. The likes of Berggren, what can he add in terms of point contribution? A lot of things need to be seen still, right? We haven't really seen this yet. We haven't seen Patty Kane after a full season or a full offseason of training and whatnot. So a lot has to go right. I do have the confidence there. I will go on record to say I can see them finishing 4th in the Atlantic, but because I went with the safe road here, I went with 5. I definitely don't see them slipping into 6, 7, or 8th spot. Absolutely not. And honestly, I can see them making the playoffs. I really do. I think it might be by 91 or 92 points, similar to last year. But I think other teams around them got worse, thankfully, and that's going to allow us to sneak in. What happens after that? I mean, anybody can comment on that one because we'll have to wait and see. But that's why I got them 5th. It's a safe pick, and a lot has to go right. And Zach, you brought up a good point with yours. I mean, if Larkin can stay healthy for 82 games, and the things that I talked about with Berggren, Gustafsson, Kane, if they really mesh well, dude, anything's possible. They could really, really jump up. But everything remains to be seen. So that's why I got him at 5. But if you think I'm out of my mind, please let me know in the comments. I love it.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think of our predictions, our bold predictions here. Carlos, so it sounds like that you have Tampa and Detroit making the wild card spots.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, Derek, Last but not least, we love you, buddy. Go ahead and give us your spiel. I'll even move up a little bit so people can see Carlos for a little comparison's sake. But yeah, Derek, go ahead and speak on yours.
I mean, man, last but not least is for sure after we just got done with like 25 minutes of spiels on each team. Huh. I'm sorry, everybody, but you get one more. And this is probably the most accurate one out of all of them. Let's be honest.
This guy. All right, go ahead, Derek. Don't toot your own horn too hard now.
Alrighty, honk, honk. Let's go, boys. We'll start off with the Atlantic here, and I'll jump into describing why afterwards. We got Florida at number 1, Toronto Maple Leafs at number 2, Tampa Bay Lightning at 3, Detroit Red Wings at 4, Boston 5, Buffalo 6. Got this. Ottawa Senators at 7, and then you got Montreal at 8 for the Atlantic. And then jumping into the Metro, we got the Rangers, New Jersey at 2, Carolina at 3, New York Islanders at 4, Pittsburgh at 5, Capitals 6, Philly 7, and Columbus Blue Jackets at 8. So let's jump in at the Atlantic. Got Florida Panthers at 1. The reigning Stanley Cup champions. I don't see their team really didn't lose too much, I don't think. And the fact that they're just such a well-rounded team in every aspect of the game, I really don't see them dropping off too much. Maybe Toronto can possibly get up there and beat up with them a little bit, but just the style of their game that they play and the way that they're able just to get under everybody's skin. I feel like playing the Toronto Maple Leafs might be an easy little target for them half the time because there are just some rumors out there, about some of their players being a little bit of a crybaby. And, you can get under that skin a little bit. You never know. But I'm not going to go too far up on Toronto just because they're still a stacked team, one of the best regular season NHL teams I've been able to witness. We won't talk about their postseason at all because it's just not as pretty. But still got those main players up there. Can't really go wrong with that top line. Even their second line, I feel like they're still going to make that massive push like they always do every year. And then we got Tampa. I feel like they're coming in at 3 just because they had some good additions, even though they did lose their captain. I feel like Stamkos, they lost an 80 to 90 point player, but they got Jake Getzel coming in too. So I think that is slightly replacing that. And like Zach said, I believe on talking on Brandon Point coming in a little bit, this now probably going to be his time to shine. I feel like he's going to be in all those deployments that Stamkos basically was and is probably going to thrive in all of them. I don't know how he's going to do it.
Point is really good.
You can't argue that player.
No.
Coming in from a late pick, just blowing up the league, and now he is where he is. I feel like he's going to keep continue it. And we got the Red Wings, which, as everyone else did, I'll jump into at the last here. Got Boston coming up behind them in 5th. I'm basically in the same boat as Zach. I already told him earlier. I was like, yep, that whole Swayman decision. They're getting a little older. Not too old, obviously. Their core is not too bad. Defense getting a little older, but hopefully that'll still be able to keep them in a solid foundation. Especially because obviously I feel like they're going to sign Swayman. They don't have a massive amount of cap room, but they're probably going to do whatever they can to get him signed to be their number 1 goalie. And hopefully that'll be able to push them enough to stay above everybody else. But I feel like there could be some bad blood. I don't know. This is taking a little bit longer for what you're supposed to be your 1A next goaltender for the next 8 years is going to be. So it's getting a little back and forthy. So I don't know. Could easily go either direction for them. But then we got the last 3, Buffalo, Senators, and the Canadians here. I could see them all flip-flopping in any single direction. You got Buffalo with Tage Thompson, a young core, but all maturing. They're all the same guys, same teammates. Basically didn't really do any construction on them, but they're all getting older. And that's the one thing a lot of people like to talk crap to them about. They were so young. Well, it's been years, so they're getting older, and hopefully the maturity and their skills are all coinciding with that. So they could jump up the league and even beat out Boston or the Red Wings possibly. And then we got the Sens down there. I mean, not the strongest core in front of Allmark there, but I feel like if he blows up again like he did for Boston, you could steal many games with just having a great goalie. Yeah. And I mean, what addition else is they got? Perron, like we said, not a second liner, but usable. Is it Pinto they just signed again? The nice little gambling guy that had a rough half of the season.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to argue him. After he came back in that last half of the season, he did pretty well. He was pretty close to, I think, almost being a point per game player. So I can't push that out of the way either. So it's a possibility, but the structure of that team is scary and how it's run. So you never know with the Senators. And then you got Canadians, which again could be in the same spot as Buffalo. They got Caulfield and now Laine, who could come out of nowhere and start throwing up a 40-goal season. You never know. If he does that, that's probably going to launch them way ahead of everybody else. So those last three are just that little shake and throw and see what happens, because it could go one way or the other for all three of them, I feel like.
I think you're bang on with that, Derek. Those last three spots, I think
it sounds like we're very consistent on that the last three in the Atlantic are going to be Buffalo, Canadians, and Senators. And I think we're all in agreement that all three are very interchangeable. It just really all comes down to just development, I guess, because all those three teams are young, right? And with the Sens, I think it'll come down to goaltending, and that's always been their biggest issue. So continue on, Derek. Go ahead.
Well, let's jump down into the Metro then. We got the New York Rangers, the reigning President Trophy winners. Goaltending, forwards, I mean, you just can't really argue it. They are just an all-rounded team, kind of like Florida minus the excessive scrappiness. They just are able to put the puck away, save goals, defend well. I'm going with the President Trophy winners from last year being number one in the Metro this year. And then we got New Jersey coming in second. I mean, look at their lineup right now. It's looking pretty nice. I'm going to say what everyone was saying last year, that this might be New Jersey's year to make the run for it. And hopefully they don't have a similar situation as last year. They got Markstrom, Jake Allen, their 1A, 1B. They're going to get a full healthy season of Dougie Hamilton. So their D core is just already getting a nice bolster there. Got the Hughes brothers. Yeah, a lot more additions coming in. I feel like they're just going to make the run, especially over Carolina coming in at third, because just getting a little older. They're a hardcore defensive team. Yeah, they got poor Ghost Bear back. I wish we could have kept him, but they got him back. So maybe that'll bolster up some of their offensive defense a little bit. Not to say that they're getting too old, not to say that they can't produce, but obviously being that defensive of a team and just aging a little bit more and more, I don't think they'll be able to do what they've been able to do over the last couple of years. And then you got the New York Islanders coming in here at fourth. So, I mean, they made a good playoff push last year. I feel like they might just be relying on their goaltending a little bit more this year than usual. But I still feel like they're going to make a good push for it. Not a bad all-around team. Just, I like the way that Carlo put it. They're very vanilla. Like, I don't see too much pizzazz. There's no one really popping off the paper here. So it's really just going to be like if they're just that subpar average team or maybe above average, it'll get them to where they need to be. And then we got the Penguins getting a little older, but I like Carlos' statement. They got two guys that are coming up on milestones. They got Gregor McGroarty coming in. I don't think Gregorty is going to make that big of a push to push them past the Islanders this year. And I don't know if we're going to see another point per game season from Sid. It could be. I could be 100% wrong on this one. He did it last year, so why not do it again this year? I mean, what's one more year of age to one of the greatest players that we've come to witness in the hockey league? So,
agreed.
But then the one where I'm varying from Carl a little bit is the Capitals. Man, they had some good additions. Like, I can't argue. I mean, obviously Ovechkin's getting older. The man's almost 40 years old, trying to break the Gretzky's goal record, which I do hope he does. What is he, like 45, 50 points away-ish?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, he's very close.
So I feel like that, for some reason, I feel like that team's going to probably be centered around that a little bit more than it should. Instead of getting these like new players, who just came over from the Kings? that wonderful deal that everyone likes to make fun of.
To what? Purely
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that guy's
thank
name.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, hey, people don't say he's a bad guy in the room. I even know everyone knows like there was that attitude thing that they used to talk about. A lot of people say he's not that bad. It's just the consistency, I think, is just what's needed for that guy. He plays great one night, then you'll take a crap in the bed the next three. It's like, got to find a place where he is suitable, find it where he's going to be able to produce the best. And hopefully the Capitals are the team that might be able to do that now. Otherwise, they just got screwed over with a massive deal for the next 7 years. So that could easily bite them in the butt or it could help them out. So, and then we got the Flyers down here. They are just being the Flyers. Nothing too great. No great additions, no subtractions, really. They're basically, I think they signed, who is the one player they signed to a long-term deal, who is probably going to be their next captain? Someone help me.
Was it Konechny? Was it Travis Konechny? Did they sign him?
Yep, I think it was
Flyers,
Konechny.
yeah.
Yep. Thank you. And going off that, probably their best player on their team right now. So that's not saying too much. Really happy news for the Flyers. And like Carlos stated, their goalies, what are you going to get from them? No one knows. There's not a big enough production piece. They got their 6'8" Russian that's playing for them for the last half of the season. So maybe if that boy gets a little more athletic skills going on, he could be able to produce at a high rate. But other than that, that's really all I see going for them. And then we got the Blue Jackets coming in at last for the Metro. I feel with Laine going away, the Gaudreau situation, I really hope that there's a little bit of a pizzazz in their step and they come out fighting like Carlos said, but I see that it's going to be at least to give them one season. Nothing to judge them out at all for this, even if they do come out playing bad. Obviously, a lot of things happen that are going to hurt the spirits a little bit, but if they could overcome it, I would not be upset. But from right now, I am thinking they're going to come last in the division.
Did you touch on the Wings already?
I did not touch on the Red Wings. And we got the Red Wings over here in the Atlantic. Let's jump. I don't know why we keep forgetting about our own team. We just kind of skip over and we're like, nah, we'll go back to that. The Red Wings, 4th in the Atlantic. I'm just feeling like a small amount of small amount of, I want to say positivity. Upscale. I'm going to go upscale from last year. I know most of the team is the same. We lost a little bit of goal production with Wallman and Ghost Bear moving out, but we got Tarasenko coming in. We have the team that's full, hopefully going to stay fully healthy, and everyone's played together already, at least now for a solid year. So that helps out, bring out the little camaraderie, being able to understand what the players are doing a little bit better when you're out there skating with them. We've got a full healthy Patrick Kane. We're going to have a little bolster on our defense with Gustafsson, maybe. More defensive defenseman. So that's kind of what we needed. We did lose the goals production, but hopefully with how he comes out playing his defense, it stops some goals in return. And then Cam Talbot and net, a little older too, but his record speaks for itself, usually around a 0.91, 0.915 in that area. That's a good number. Those are good stats, especially to be on the Red Wings. I feel like if that's the numbers we get from him, even though obviously we don't have the defensive core LA had last year. I understand that. A little different, but I still think we have a good goalie in him nonetheless. So I feel like his skills, especially with everybody else playing their role the way that we're hoping they do, it's going to push the Wings up the next spot up. And they're definitely going to grab that wild card spot with, I think, I'm going to skip out of the Atlantic, maybe even the Islanders in there. Not Boston this time. I think Boston misses this year.
Fair. That's fair. The one thing none of us mentioned that I do want to top up with is Simon Edvinsson. A full year of Simon Edvinsson, that could very well be a big part of the reason why Detroit moves to the left of what you guys are seeing here and closer to the top. We talked about Kane, Tarasenko, Gustafsson, but I think we got to definitely talk about Edvinsson too, because if he really finds a groove, that could very well be enough of an impact and reason for the Wings to finish a little bit higher than we think. So just wanted to add that in.
For me, I hear you guys when you guys say, and a lot of people say this too. I'm actually going to disagree. I don't think the Red Wings are going to lose point production at all. I think what's going to happen is Lalone is going to tell the forwards, score, but also back check when you need to, right?
Let in less goals.
Defense, play defense, right? I think we had one too many defensemen and Jake Woolman, and then also Shane Gosper, a couple others too that you can throw in Jeff Petrie too. More on the offensive side than the defensive side. So, Carlo, you bring up a good point. You're bringing in Simon Edvinsson, someone who's not, at least we don't know yet, how much can he bring in production-wise in the point category. I think defensively, he's going to shine really well with this team. I think that's Lalone's game plan, and I think that might be Steve's game plan too, because why else are you bringing in a Vlad Tarasenko? You're obviously replacing the point production that you're missing out on some of the defensemen that you moved away from, and also some of the forwards, right? If you would have kept David Perron, also Daniel Sprong, there was just David Perron defense. There was defense there, right? But he was getting slower. He's getting older, so the points were going down. Then you got Daniel Sprong, who probably could still score, get up to 40 points, but there's no defense there. So I think
really well
I think we're going to stay the same point production-wise. This is also season 3 for Derek Lalone. A lot of these players are entering into their second season under Derek Lalone. Some of them are entering the third. Only quite a few going into their first season with Lalone. A lot of these players that have been in the system for a while, they're going to help those that haven't been here as long. So I do believe, once again, I'm going to reiterate this. I don't believe the point production is going to dip. I think defense is going to increase. And then adding a Cam Talbot and then kind of allowing Alex Lyon to get more breaks in between. And if Ville Husso can stay healthy, this is why I have the Red Wings making the jump into the third spot. Very well could make the fourth spot, but it does sound like, and Derek, you didn't actually get to answer this. So which two teams, it looks like the Red Wings are making the playoffs in your prediction for the wild card spot? Who's the other wild card spot?
Oh, I went with the Islanders on that, kicking Boston out this season.
Okay. So yeah, I think that the Red Wings have a very good chance of making the playoffs. Obviously, we're Red Wings based and we're biased a little bit. Firmly believe that a lot of people around the league, not Red Wings affiliated, are downplaying the Red Wings. It could go either way, honestly, but I do think that this could be a year where we see an uptick, right? And Alex DeBrincat needs to show up too. That's a player that really needs to show up.
The post needs to be better to Alex DeBrincat.
Yes.
That's all.
And I'm sure he worked on that this offseason too, right? Being able to have more of an accurate snipe on his shot when he does the 1-Ts, right? He needs to find his inner Ovi in that Oval Office right there, right? So there's a lot to be seen here, but adding someone like Tarasenko, like I mentioned, you're bringing up Jana Tim Berggren. I think your PK is going to be good. I think special teams in general are going to be good. The defense is probably, I don't know. What's the biggest worry for the Red Wings, the defense or the goaltending? I kind of want to say goaltending.
I want to say defense, but the thing is, Zach, is you brought up an interesting topic. If our defense is actually truly playing defense and not worried about putting the puck in the net, but rather keeping the puck out of their own net and letting the forwards really go hard on putting the puck in the net, I think you bring up a good point. And if we let in less goals, we may not see that point production loss as hard as, maybe Vegas thinks. With you look at the betting odds, I mean, Detroit's not really getting too much love. So
yeah, we said this last season too, or even when Derek Lalone came in, that we were essentially going to become the Carolina Hurricanes of the Atlantic Division, where you don't score a lot, but you're stopping a lot of goals going in. This could be the year where we turned into that, right? That's my thought on it.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
What do you think, Derek?
I don't see anybody on our D line now that is going to be that person making a sprint up to score goals. So it's very well much could be that with, like we said, Wallman and Ghost Bear are two main guys, a little bit Jeff Petrie, but hopefully someone had a nice sit down with Jeff Petrie being like, okay, you're going to teach these guys how to play defense and not try to rush anymore because you skate at 5 miles an hour. So stop that.
Obviously, you take your opportunities when you get them. If you feel like that you have an open shot lane to make that and score, go ahead and take it. But going back and reiterating, I think Lalonde's going to tell the defensemen to play defense first. Don't worry about the scoring opportunities because we have more than enough forwards. You got Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Patrick Kane, Tarasenko, JT Compher. I think he's going to improve as a 2C. We talked about it last episode. Him and Kane have been working together. And everyone else that's on the team too. Jonathan Berggren can make the jump into the second line every once in a while. Carlo wanted to see him on the top line eventually at some point. So the offense is there just on the names alone. So I really don't see, if you're going to reduce in point production, maybe it's by a little bit. But like Carlos said, if you can keep the puck out and if you can win games by 1 goal, that's all you need to get the 2 points.
Yep.
Right?
A win's a win.
That's what it is.
Doesn't got to be 40 guys. That's all we're asking for, just a win.
Yeah, and I've been saying this for a long time. You know, I would say the last four seasons for sure, just with my own, you know, some of my close buddies that I watch games with a lot. And it's like, if we could figure out how to win by 1 goal and stop losing by 1 goal, that's enough to take us to that next level. So I have a lot of faith that they'll be able to do that this year, guys. I think it's going to be fun to watch. It's not going to be sexy. You know, you're not going to, we're talking about 1 goal games here. Are you going to see them have their blow up games? Sure. Absolutely. I think so, for sure. They have a lot of horsepower up front. But I think you're going to see a lot of not too sexy wins, and we're A-okay with that because ultimately a win's a win. And like you guys said, and that's what it's going to take for us to make that next step. So what I am happy about is that we're all unanimous that Detroit's making the playoffs this year, baby. So let's frickin' go.
Yeah, and it's kind of going, I don't want to jump into that rabbit hole. I'll save that for the episode. I always want to do this, but I'm not going to.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I mean, you can call us biased all you want. We are a Red Wings podcast. We want to see our team make the playoffs, but bearing injuries,
yeah,
the Red Wings, I believe, based on the Atlantic Division and even looking at the Metro, the Red Wings are primed to make a jump into the playoffs. I firmly believe that. It just comes down to injuries at the end of the day. But looking at everyone's predictions, it doesn't seem like too many of us are far off from Carlo. Just put the Capitals all the way down at the bottom. But outside of that, I mean, the teams who don't make the playoffs, it's very, very close. I mean, Carlo also has Boston up a little bit, but had he predicted that,
you have Florida down all the way. So,
and I have Florida down all the way. I mean, I'm looking at it from the perspective of they've made it to the finals 2 years in a row. That's going to catch up to them eventually, right? So I think they're going to be lackadaisical a little bit. I think they might start turning it up towards the end of the season. I still have them making the playoffs. So, you know, you don't have to be the greatest team in the regular season. Just play enough to win. And I think the Florida Panthers could still make a deep playoff run, not maybe to the finals, but I think that they're still going to be a very good team. Once again, it comes down to injuries and how well rested these players are after going to back-to-back Stanley Cup final appearances and winning one, right? So, but all right. I think that's where we can end it off here. So take a second. Subscribe if you haven't. If you're new, if you are returning as well, we do see that there are plenty of you that are returning visitors that have not been subscribing. So please go ahead and do that. It is free to do all those things, to like the video. You guys are killing it on the likes. You guys got us to, I think it's at 40 likes now in the last episode. And the previous was like 50 or something like that. So good job on that, everyone. We really do appreciate it. Doing that on Spotify and Apple Podcasts is also free. You can follow us and rate us 5 stars. That really does truly help us out. So go ahead and do that. Also, check out our merch store. I really don't talk about that anymore, but we did do a giveaway where 3 lucky winners won a hat of their choice. We got hoodies. We got tank tops. Fall season is here. Much like Carlos said, it's like 65 degrees outside where I'm at right now, right? And so, yeah, go ahead and check that out and everything else that we got. We really do appreciate it. Let us know down in the comments what you guys think of our predictions, too. Let us know what your predictions are in the comments. We really do like interacting with you guys. I do have to announce the winner. We did end up getting a winner for the Henrik Zetterberg bobblehead giveaway, which is sealed. If you win, contact us somehow. You can contact us on... you can contact us on YouTube, but you have to contact us on one of our social media platforms, which would be either Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, probably not Threads because I'm still very unfamiliar with Threads. But the winner of this giveaway is going to Zach Margolis, I believe is how you pronounce your name, at Zach, Z-A-C, Margolis, M-A-R-G-O-L-I-S, 1104 on YouTube. A random subscriber was selected to win this, and so congratulations to Zach.
Right on.
Margolis.
Congrats, Zach. Enjoy. Awesome.
You can hit up either one of us, any of us on our socials, or you can contact us through our socials through the podcast. So more than likely it's going to go to me. So go ahead and hit me up if you need to. We'll work around the shipping arrangements. If you're in the United States, we'll cover that. If you're outside the United States or Canada, we may ask for a little support in that and figuring out what's the best route to get that over to you. But Zach, go ahead and give us a message, DM us, however you want to hit us up. So with that being said, Carlo, do you want to do your honorary?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, do one real quick. Go ahead.
Joachim Anderson.
Oh,
Who remembers that guy? I certainly do.
I unfortunately do.
I got to give mad credit to, once again, Nick from Hockeytown West. He actually submitted that one because I did ask for a few more. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, yes, this is 100% the next go. I totally remember Joachim Anderson, the good old days. Joachim Anderson played 205 games with the Detroit Red Wings. He netted himself 15 goals, 21 assists for a whopping 38 points. Definitely a role guy. I liked him. I thought he was solid. His last full season of play was with HV71 of the SHL, which was in 2019-2020. 49 games played, 9 goals, 7 assists for a whopping 16 points. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Joachim Anderson.
I don't remember you at all, buddy.
We're hoping you're doing well.
I have his elite prospects pulled up, and maybe I didn't know this, or maybe I just forgot, but in the 11-12 season, in 73 games for the Grand Rapids Griffins, he put up 21 goals, 30 assists for 51 points, which is incredible for a defenseman, right? So I'm sure defenseman, I meant forward. My apologies on that one.
Yeah, he was like a middle six forward. Role player for sure, but number 18, man. Last number 18, I remember that vividly, is Kirk Maltby, which may be coming to an honorary Red Wings mention near you. So stay tuned.
Spoiler.
Yeah, Anderson was a former third round 88th overall pick by the Detroit Red Wings in 2007, 6'2", 203 pounds, 35 years old currently right now. Hope all is well. All right, Carlo, that was a really good honorary Red Wing mention. If you remember who Joachim Anderson, let us know down in the comments. If you don't know who he is, go ahead and see if you can find any highlight videos of him.
And send them our way. Link us up in the comments.
Good luck.
Help Derek find stuff on him because he doesn't know anything about him.
All right, boys, I think we can wrap up this episode. Thanks for joining us once again. We'll go ahead and hop into our final thoughts. Derek, go ahead.
Oh, let's go Red Wings. I really hope one of our predictions, or I know what, I'm hoping for at least the average or higher of our predictions for the Red Wings to be right, because that means we're in that first wild card spot, which is nice, or higher. So let's go Red Wings, boys. Get that point production the same, get those goal totals down a little bit. I think we're good. And last but not least, let's go Lions. Come on, boys. Detroit Lions are on today at 8:20. Let's get it.
Yes.
Predictions for that game real quick.
You want to?
They're playing the Rams, aren't they?
Just say if you think they're going to win or lose, I guess.
Oh, I was going to think of, I'm hoping a blowout. They're winning. Come on. I already made my first bet of the year.
I wouldn't say it's going to be a blowout, but I think the Lions are going to win. Probably by like a touchdown or two, maybe 10 points. What do you think?
10
Carlo?
points, yeah. Yeah, I would go 10 points. I did lay a prop bet. I don't know. I can send those to you later if you want, or I can give you a little gambling corner advice here, but don't take it. But take it if you want. Lions money line, David Montgomery touchdown, Kyron Williams touchdown, Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown, Jared Goff over 275 passing yards. Send it. Let's go Lions. That's my final thought.
Dang. I like it. I might not be ballsy enough to do one like that, but I like it. If you win, you owe me $100 for friendship.
No. Good odds, though. Good odds.
These are getting really expensive.
I'm putting it on the pod. Y'all heard it here. And with that, my final thoughts are, let's go Red Wings. Prospect tournament is coming up. They're playing 2 games against the Dallas Stars. I believe that's pretty soon here. And then training camp to follow. So yeah, let's go Red Wings. Let's go Grand Rapids Griffins. Leave us a comment down below. Go ahead and hit the like button on this video. Hit the subscribe button. Those are free. Doesn't cost you any money to support us, but we do appreciate it. Once again, go ahead and do that on Apple Podcasts. Do it on Spotify Podcasts as well. And then until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one. See ya.
Peace.
Bye, y'all.